This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. So, no surprise, we have another article here in the United States, front page of U.S. tabloid In Touch Weekly. Again, remember last week, Meghan was on the front cover of this same tabloid magazine as well. Now, if you had the chance to check out the video that I did covering this article, I did say it felt very much like they were staging and setting the narrative for bringing Harry back to the UK. It really has felt like they have been trying really hard to rehabilitate his image. Now, fast forward to this week, and once again, this couple is on the front page of the same tabloid magazine now 2 weeks in a row. To me, it's obvious that it's the Sussexes who are paying for these articles to be put into these tabloid magazines, not only to distract, but also to deflect away from what's really going on. And the reason why I say that is this shouldn't have been the cover story for the week if this was a magazine that was truly reporting on celebrity and Hollywood breaking news. Now, if this was a real magazine with serious journalism, this would not have been the cover story. The cover story should have been One Direction's band member's death, Liam Payne. But instead, they only give him a small mention in the left-hand corner of this front page. So this tells me that this is bought and paid for as a distraction and deflection tactic. So let's go through this article, and I want to point a couple things out that give me the indication that Harry is on his way back. The first thing you notice here is the picture that they chose. Picture of Meghan looking like a cold-hearted bitch and Harry looking miserable as ever. That's all intentional to make you feel bad for Harry. Now, I personally think, and this is just my opinion, that these articles of their finances are being put out there to distract and deflect away from people actually looking into their financial situation. And I would think many of you would agree that before we understood how Harry and Meghan had been manipulating and using the media and twisting narratives, we took them at face value when they said that they signed a deal with Netflix for $100 million, $25 million with Spotify, $30 million with Penguin Random House. And we said, wow, they are pretty much set to build this empire that could eventually turn into a billion-dollar empire. But now when you look back on everything that has happened and everything that we have been reading about deals falling through and Netflix not moving forward on certain projects, Spotify dropping Meghan. I mean, Harry only put out one book. He's got 3 more books to go. Then you have Harry's polo series and Meghan's cooking show, American Riviera Orchard or Orchard Riviera, whatever that is. And all of it has been a colossal fail. I mean, how do you mess up so badly when you're given all the resources and help? I get it. Meghan can't follow direction. Meghan is a narcissist. I get all that. But how do you make it all the way up to marrying into the royal family and then all of a sudden become this colossal failure? Especially if you're telling the world that you graduated Northwestern University, you made it on Suits, you built the TIG, and all of a sudden now everything you touch is a failure? No, I think we really need to use some rational common sense here. This has all been one big distraction. All the failures that we are seeing on a global stage, but all the projects that they have been working on with the Archwell Fugazi public charity and funding and giving money to these various political social justice causes that coincidentally the US government is also funding. The only thing that Meghan and Harry have been consistent with is this focus on driving censorship and undermining the First Amendment with the causes that they have been supporting. Let's now get into this article. It says, home to dramatic cliffs, sparkling water, and pristine beaches, the stretch of oceanfront just south of Lisbon, Portugal, has been dubbed both the new Saint-Tropez and the new Hamptons because of the celebrities who flock there. George Clooney's longtime business partner, Mike Meldman, owns a luxury golf and ocean resort called Costa Terra, where Jack Brooksbank works in marketing and lives with his wife, Princess Eugenie. And now, they'll reportedly have new royal neighbors, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Okay, let me interrupt for a quick second. 2 things that I want to point out here. They're no longer putting the Duchess of Sussex with Meghan Markle's name. This has now been happening with multiple articles that we're seeing that we believe are coming from Prince Harry's camp. The other thing that I want to point out is they continuously say, reportedly, there has been no confirmation that Harry and Meghan bought a home in Portugal. None. And I do think that that was thrown out there to distract away from Harry being off somewhere else. Now, I believe that Harry is not in the United States. And I did say when I was covering the article last week that we're going to start to see Harry showing up in these random places. And sure enough, the next day we get this surf video, of which many have been claiming is AI generated or AI manipulated. Who knows? Maybe Harry used CGI. Anything is possible at this point. After visiting Jack and Eugenie there last year, they've decided to make it a permanent vacation home, a source tells In Touch. But with homes starting at $10 million and club fees at $200,000, adds the source, no one knows how they'll be able to afford it. Now, I've come to the conclusion that there is no house, and all of this is smoke and mirrors, but Harry, 40, and Meghan, 43, are already paying off a $9.5 million mortgage on their 7.4-acre Montecito, California compound and spend an estimated $3 million on security every year. Now, here is another part of this deflection. They want people to believe, or at least the American people, to think that they are paying for their own security out of their own pockets. And we know that that's not true. We know, at least for New York, the American taxpayer has been paying for their security every time they have visited, especially with this last visit and all the security detail that was given to Prince Harry. So, they can't really put that in there to say that, yeah, it's so expensive, woe is me, because they're not actually paying that money. And I would hate to know that at the end of the day, that $3 million is really the taxpayer money that they have been taking this whole entire time per year. So 6 years, $18 million already shed out to these two assholes. Now, as we have been forced to believe that these two have been here in a private capacity, then maybe New Yorkers need to rise up and sue the city to get their money back, because our tax dollars should not have gone to protecting these two fools. And this is a perfect example of the abuse by these globalist elites. They're nothing but parasites off the backs of hardworking people. But anyway, it says, and that doesn't count the private jets, club memberships, and quasi-royal tours to foreign countries, says the source, noting that in the 5 years since Megxit, the $100 million empire the Sussexes built on multiple lucrative business deals has mostly collapsed. Honestly, I don't believe that those deals really existed. I'm sure they had an agreement together, but it certainly wasn't for $100 million. Do you honestly think that Netflix wouldn't sue these two if they had signed an agreement for $100 million and all they got was a 6-part series of moaning and trying to take down the institution, as well as propaganda that Harry put out for Heart of Invictus using a filmmaker who also put out propaganda or known for making propaganda for war? Now, I recognize there's still a lot of you who can't wrap your brain around Harry and Meghan being a part of this globalist agenda, but they are. And although they've been used as these useful idiots, they are here to distract us. This is why our media is being flooded with this nonsense, conflicting stories that we know are definitely not true. But when you look at the actual projects that they have completed, really stop and think about it. All of them have been political in nature. Heart of Invictus focused on Ukraine war and why we need to continue to keep sending money to support because of Russia. Oh, big bad Russia. Then we had Meghan's horrible DEI podcast, Archetypes, filled with nothing but lies. Oh, and let's not forget this failure, Live to Lead, with all these political activists who are pushing this woke agenda that nobody wants because everyone recognizes that this is really that they're forcing us down the path of Marxism, eventually to communism. And finally, we must never forget that 6-hour mockumentary that used race as its weapon to go ahead and attack an institution that is a threat to this Marxist communist agenda. These people are so morally corrupt and evil, and I'm just grateful that the Queen didn't live long enough to witness this attack on her family, because I think that would have killed her, in my opinion. Harry is a traitor to the UK, and Meghan is a traitor to the United States. Both of them need to be put in jail. But I digress. Back to the article. They've been acting like billionaires, and the reality is they don't have much money coming in. They've been destroyed by greed, and they're desperate for cash. Their Hollywood dreams have mostly soured. Harry and Meghan only have 2 projects coming from their $100 million Netflix deal, a cooking show for Meghan and a polo docuseries from Harry, while their Spotify contract fell apart last year. Still, the pair have continued to make multiple announcements about their various ventures. Harry was named the face of the virtual mental health startup BetterUp, while Meghan revealed how she's continuing her podcasting ventures through Lemonada Media. She also has been teasing the launch of her lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, since March, but nothing ever lives up to the hype, says the source. Even worse, Harry was accused of doing absolutely nothing at BetterUp except attracting bad press, while Meghan's been called too controlling. They now have a reputation for being reckless royals. No, they're nothing. You see, Meghan may have a title, but that doesn't make her royal. Meghan never was royal. So now this last part is where they start to position and shift Harry into moving back into his old life before Satan entered it. So it says here, cracking under the pressure. Their most recent solution has been to split off onto separate paths. Harry is back doing the only thing he's ever known how to do, which is meet people at public engagements that shine a light on his various charities, says the source. Basically, he's doing what he'd be doing if he stayed with the royal family. Of course, he wants to go back to his old life because this didn't work out. It says Meghan is also returning to her roots. American Riviera Orchard has been described as a natural expansion of the TIG, the lifestyle website she ran while she was a C-list actress. The Duchess is focused on her entrepreneurial track. Meghan is coming clean here. All she cares about is money. Indeed, all she's ever cared about is money. Oh, this is a burn. But now she's back in California, surrounded by Hollywood success stories like Kris Jenner, and is prepared to admit it. Royal expert Dan Wooten recently wrote in his outspoken newsletter, adding that with Harry largely out of the picture, allowing Meghan to take the lead on commercial deals will make signing significant seven-figure contracts difficult going forward. Meghan is now commercially toxic. That's the word going around. Apparently, Hollywood, like the royal family, is onto them. They've lost everything and everyone over their obsession with money and power, says the source. Despite Harry's half of the late Princess Diana's $16 million fortune and the additional $10 million inheritance the prince received from his late great-grandmother on his 40th birthday, they're basically living paycheck to paycheck. Oh, boo-hoo. The sad part about it is that there's actually people out there that are going to believe that Harry and Meghan are going broke. But let's use some common sense with this. Harry and Meghan have a whole plethora amount of resources at their disposal. Lawyers. Meghan has her business manager, remember Andrew Meyer? There's no way that they haven't been advised around their spending as well as management of their money, especially when it comes to this Archwell Fugazi charity and moving money around in order to avoid paying taxes. I mean, we all know that this is happening. But in any case, they want us to feel bad because they're blowing through millions of dollars. I'm sorry, I just can't feel bad. This also solidifies why I don't believe the Megxit story in the first place, because if they truly came over here to lead a private life because they needed to get away from the paparazzi in the UK and it wasn't safe, then they had more than enough money to go ahead and start a life and be able to have a nest egg and do the work that they so claim that they were doing. What we're seeing here is really just the winding down of this so-called mission that this couple were on when they came over here that failed. So now we need to figure out how do we get Harry out of this and back to his family. And I feel like this is what's happening, because in the last paragraph here it says, now, Harry is desperate for a way out of this mess, says the source. He was recently spotted on his own hanging 10 at the Surf Ranch wave pool in Lemoore, California. More and more, he seems to be flying solo. He's starting to realize, too, that he has no allies left in the States. He left all his real friends behind in England. So he's trying to rebuild those relationships, but those people can't stand Meghan. It's put an enormous strain on their marriage, and those close to them seriously doubt they'll make it. I think all of us know that this is not going to last. This whole marriage has been a sham, and people are starting to see it now. So we're getting the wind down of this story. Some people speculate that Harry might be in a rehab facility somewhere. I don't think so. I think Harry is on the run. Harry's not in the United States, and Harry is desperately trying to get back into the cozy arms of his family so he can be protected. Also, as a part of that rumor, they're saying that the reason why we don't know about Harry's whereabouts is because he surrounded himself with a close, tight group of friends who will not leak that kind of information. And he's off somewhere trying to get better and to detoxify as well as deprogram away from his toxic wife. Now, I think if that was true, then you would think, being that Megan is a narcissist and as controlling as we are to believe she is, you don't think she wouldn't be putting stories out there, even if they were false, about Harry? That's the thing. If these two truly are at odds and they're going separate ways, and, Harry is the one who is dumping Megan, you honestly think that Megan's not going to retaliate in the worst possible way using the media? But she hasn't. We're seeing these articles of where she's being trashed and bashed. I mean, this article in itself calling her a C-list actress and then, talking about all she's looking at is money. It's always been about money. This wouldn't have dared been printed 4 years ago. No, no way. So now there's a definite shift to rehabilitating Harry's image and positioning him to go back to the life of service that he and his family have been dedicated towards. This, to me, yes, obviously is a tabloid magazine and no doubt has some mistruths. But I also see this as, yes, they are moving him back and positioning him back into this life. And if he does come out and he did go through rehab, there's going to be this story of being a changed man. And you'll see how the PR machine will work to rehabilitate this man's image and go back into the life as if nothing happened. But folks, we need to call it out if that be the case. They have caused so much damage. And now we're here at the very tail end with 10 days left to go to our election. Soon as Trump gets into office, that's it. Harry will never step foot back again on U.S. soil. Now, when I say Harry is going to go back, yes, Harry will go back, but he will never be trusted again. And I do believe that they're going to keep him at such a distance where he's only interacting with various aides and courtiers to facilitate communication with other members of the family. But he will never be in the grace of his family again. Maybe once in a while for holidays, but that's going to take a long time for him to get there. He cannot be trusted. But I do believe that the family has to take him back because of what may be the fallout of things catching up to Harry, such as the exposure of the interference with the U.S. government and the things that he has been doing behind the scenes to meddle with our First Amendment. This is a huge thing. Now, don't get me wrong here. I don't see William and Harry ever repairing their relationship. I think that's over, and it's sad because essentially William lost a brother. But what I do think is the driver for why they would bring him back is to mitigate the liability onto the royal family. They understand that money that Meghan and Harry had been giving to various organizations within their Archewell Fugazi public charity could compromise the institution having to be subjected maybe to an audit and opening up their books to see where money is flowing. And if indeed money came from the crown to fund some of these organizations that I have shown you been tied to this censorship industrial complex, that could be a very serious constitutional crisis they could face. Remember, you have Americans who Harry deliberately suppressed and censored as a result of being a part of this. That's a violation of our civil rights here. And that could be something to be taken up from a legal standpoint in a class action, which I could honestly see happening. Now, I'm willing to bet that many of you are sitting there right now saying nothing is going to happen to Harry, even if Donald Trump gets into office. Now, I get it. I know why people would feel this way because all too often, these globalist elites, it appears like they have a separate set of rules than the rest of us. But I don't think that that will be the case in this situation with Harry. All we need to do is just continue to have hope and faith. I'm sure God will lead us the way that we need to go. and justice will be served. We just have to keep talking about it. But what do you guys think? Do you think Harry's coming back? Where do you think Harry is? Do you think he's in rehab? Do you think he's in Portugal? Do you think he's in the UK? Let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Such a fraud.